So, for the last few weeks, I might have veered off the main study of leadership a little bit, but I want to get back onto it again because there's a couple of things I want to clear up. The first one of those is the definition. I want to get something straight with the definition of leadership. I feel there's a lot of people who they don't quite understand the definition, and if you don't quite understand the definition, you don't understand where you're starting from. It makes it very difficult to carry on from there. So when people say definition of a great leader, definition of a good leader, that's a very difficult question to answer because it depends on what your objectives are. Now, if you look at what are the objectives of what is the definition of a leader? Forget good or bad, but just definition of a leader. That's easy. This is what a lot of people need to get into their head to be able to then start progressing. Understand this bit and you can build from here. So the definition of a leader is an individual who has followers. Full stop. That is it. So if you have, for example, the traditional household, the mother, the father, let's just say 3, 4 kids, whatever. In that household, generally, the leader of the family will be the father, followed by the mother, and then blah blah blah. But the point is, that person is a leader within a family unit. You could have any situation where people follow. You could have a gang of kids in school or a group of kids in school, and the most popular one, it could be the one whose dad, because say there's 8 boys and one of these dads is a boxing world champion and all the other boys follow him because of his dad. So there's many reasons as to why someone will have followers. It could be that it's your job to follow this person in terms of a manager because you want to get paid. So you're following your manager because for financial reasons. If, for example, you lost your job or they stopped paying you, would you carry on following them? Probably not. So there are many reasons why people will follow other people. Now, if again you start looking at what makes someone good, what makes someone bad in terms of leadership, it depends on the objectives. If you've got a leader that you say, was this leader someone who had longevity? They were in charge for 30 years. Well, they might have been, but they've technically achieved nothing else, but they've still achieved your objective. Say you had another leader that you said, did they manage to take over 10 countries? Well, they might have only been in charge for a month, but they just absolutely smashed their role. So they were only in charge a month, but what was their objective? Well, maybe their objective was to take over 5 countries and they took over 10. So you would say they were a brilliant leader. They might have lost, say it was an army and they had 1 million soldiers, they might have lost 950,000, and you'd say they are horrendous. But that might not be the objective. The objective might have been take those 5 countries regardless of losses. Therefore, they're successful. So it depends on what your objectives are as to what makes someone good or not. Now, there are many traits. We know there's traits. Everyone says about all the different types of traits, such as motivational, inspirational, organized, someone who takes responsibility, someone who's a good man-manager, compassionate, all these different things. Now, essentially, they are good management traits, not so much leadership traits. A good manager can have those, and then because of that they become a positive leader is more about the success of your objectives, where a good manager is about being able to let's call it manipulate a situation using skills and traits. So a very good manager will probably or be more likely to be a successful leader. You can be a good leader without being a good manager, but generally you need some managerial traits to be able to achieve your objectives. So now it starts getting a little bit, if you want to call it, convoluted, because you would say, well, what's a leader then? I mean, I would have said, for example, some great military leader might not be a leader. He might just be a very good manager. This is a point. It starts getting really pernickety, and you start picking at, is that literally what you mean? But that's not what I meant. I meant a leader, and it starts getting a bit funny. But one of the traits that I keep finding, and if you step back from it, you hear of all the traits. You hear someone say, "Oh, so and so is a very good man manager. So and so is a very good organizer. So and so is very motivational." You hear all these things. Now, the one thing that I am finding, the one consistent trait in everyone, and this is where a lot of people have not. People have openly said, they can't find the consistent trait. I believe there is a consistent trait, and I'm starting to see it a lot more, and that is the belief that you are a good leader, or the belief that you are a good communicator, or the belief that you are a motivational person. Because if you believe it, the majority, in most instances, your, how would you word it? When you talk, people, the fact that you believe in what you're saying that much, your sincerity, people then kind of go, wow, he must be right. Obviously, if you say, I believe that I can take over this football team and we're going to take over the world and we're going to win every single game, and then you don't, people will say, and it comes unstuck. But I think the point is, if you don't believe in yourself, you are never going to get, or rarely going to get, into the position to be able to prove yourself. So if you asked, let's just say 1,000 people, and you said, how many of you believe you could be the manager of this huge business, or the manager of this huge football team, or whatever it may be? And let's just say 950 say, no, I just don't believe I could. And 50 say, yeah, definitely, I've got the skills, I've got the intelligence, I got this, I got that, yeah, I believe I can. Now, here's where it gets super interesting. Those 50, a very, very high percentage of those 50 are going to be narcissists. Now, you can have good narcissists and bad narcissists, just like you can have good manipulators and bad manipulators. It all depends on how you wield your power, how you wield your tools and tricks and skills and traits. How you choose to wield them determines whether you are a inherently good or bad person. But being able to believe in yourself that much to say, yes, I believe I could be Prime Minister of the country. Like I said, go back to the example, if you've got 1,000 people, 950 say no, 50 say yes. Now, of that 950, you might have, let's just say, 50 people that were going to be pretty good. But we're never going to find out, because they didn't put themselves forward, they didn't stand up, they didn't believe they had the right to have a voice. They didn't have the confidence, to the self-worth to think, well, why would anyone want to listen to me? They didn't have that. Now, of the 50 that stood up, let's say 40 were bad, 40 were really bad, and 10 were good. Let's just say those 40 that were bad, how do I put this? Your mean average. When you've got let's just say you've got a 0 is incredibly crap leadership, 10 is great leadership, but you can only go on by what you've seen. So you've only seen a 10. You haven't seen a 20 yet, because if you saw a 20, that would become the new 10, and the 10 that already exists would become the new 5. So you can only go by the greatest of what you've seen. So if you have only ever seen, of those 50 people that said, yes, I can do it, you've got a 0, which is the worst, and you've got a 10, which is the best, 10 out of 10. And let's just say 40 of those 50 people are only, let's just say, 6 or 7 out of 10 or lower. The other 10 are 8, 9 or 10 stars out of 10. Sorry if you didn't follow that, it's quite complicated, but what I'm trying to say is, if you've got only 50 people that put themselves forward and 40 of them are crap, you don't know they're crap if you've only got that to go by. So let's just make this even more extreme and say 50 people put themselves forward. Of those 950 people that didn't, let's just say there were 10 in there that would have been immensely amazing leaders because they're humble and they are compassionate and empathetic, and let's just say all these other reasons. But of those 950, there are 10 leaders in there that are immense. Of the 50 that put themselves forward, they're all narcissists, they're all selfish, let's just say, and they're all horrendous. They're all crap. On the scale of what a great leader could be, let's just say they're all 3 out of 10 or lower. They're all 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10 or 3 out of 10. But because that's the only pool of leaders that you've got to choose from, you are now looking at the bottom kind of, let's just say, you're only focusing on now the worst of the worst, and you're going to stretch that out to find the median of which is the shittest, which is kind of shit, and which is the best of the shit, because you haven't got anything great to compare it to. So that is part of the problem, is the belief system of, do you believe you are good enough to manage other people? And generally, if you do, you are a bit of a narcissist. Now, something I read the other day is humble narcissists. And I spoke to a few people about it and said, do you know what, I've never seen this thing before. And sounds bad, but I think that's what I am. Because the definition of someone who's a narcissist is someone who believes that they can be better than most people or do better than most people. And I do believe that I can achieve more than most people, but that's not because I think I'm better. I don't think I'm better than most people. I've just seen over the years that I can achieve more than the average person. So it makes me sound very arrogant and it makes me sound narcissistic, but I'm not. I still believe that I can improve in a lot of places, and I believe that everyone is able to do things that I can't. Everyone has a skill that I can't do. So I don't think I'm better than other people, but I think I've got, just going me personally, I think I've got a bit of a weird combination because I was adopted. So because I had that low self-worth, I had or have ADHD because of emotional trauma as a child, which meant the ADHD gave me kind of that low worth. But then because I've got for me an IQ, decent enough IQ, and because I was adopted, I pushed everyone away and become super independent. It made me only care about my own opinion of myself, if that makes sense. So for me, it's become a superpower. So I keep hearing these people saying, "Oh, because I've got ADHD, I can't achieve anything because I get stuck," and people don't understand how hard it is having ADHD. It is hard, but get a grip. And I know it sounds really dumb. I can say this because I do have ADHD. Find a system that tricks you into doing it. Don't just say, oh, I can't do it. Oh, I've got ADHD, it's this, it's that. Switch up the problems in your brain and turn them into positives, turn them into strengths. So I would say, for me personally, because of my past situation, I now have that. Instead of being glass half full, it's the glass is completely full. It's 50% full of water, 50% full of air. So to me, it's 100% full, and it's perception. So that perception of situations and the perception of myself and what I'm capable of and my potential and all these other things now determines my confidence and my belief in what I could achieve or can achieve. On top of that, because of the trauma I've been through, I don't like people going through trauma as well. It's made me very protective, and I want to protect everyone and take that pain for them. I want to take everyone's burden off of them. I want to go through everything so other people don't have to, because I believe I can. And I feel if other people need protecting, it's my duty to protect them, because I've managed to come out of the other side of something a hell of a lot stronger. So I want to take it off of people so they don't have to go through what I went through. That's how I see it. So it's kind of a weird combination, a weird mix that's just, for me, turned out to be perfect. But it's that belief, going back to this whole thing, it's that belief, I believe, that determines how likely someone is to become a leader or get put into a leadership position. You think when people go for a promotion, it's not because they don't think they're good enough, they think they're good enough. Sometimes it's to do with because they want more money, but they still have to believe they can do the job. Now, a lot of people get imposter syndrome, of course, because you're in a situation where you're like, wow, I'm new. Everyone gets imposter syndrome, but having that belief to put yourself forward means that if you are within a pool of crap people, you can still be the best of a crap pool. But you need to get into that pool to be compared with them. Does that make sense? So it is to do with believing yourself and believing in yourself, believing your leadership abilities. So when someone says, oh, so-and-so is great at man management, and then someone says, oh yeah, I'm very good at man management as well, they might not be. But the fact they believe they are means they do things that end up making them behave in a way that is perceived as someone who is good at man management, and then they probably end up self-manifesting themselves into someone who is good at man management by believing they are it before they are. So it's that whole manifestation thing of, if you believe you are something, and it's not about fake it till you make it, that's one way, but this is people who genuinely think they are good. I think I've said the story before about a football player I met years ago who was horrendous. He was so bad. He didn't know how to play, he didn't know where to stand, he couldn't tackle, he was slow. He thought he was fast. He wasn't slow. He was average speed, average fitness. He was a waste of time on the pitch. He had to carry him. He was frustrating, but he believed in his head he was the second coming of Cristiano Ronaldo. He used to do crazy step overs. He used to try and do these rainbow flicks. He used to try and do ridiculous skills that he didn't have the ability to do. And 99% of the time they wouldn't work. But 1% of the time, because he would do something that someone wasn't expecting, not because he was good, but because they weren't expecting him to do something so stupid, it worked. And that one time it worked reinforced his bullshitometer, his beliefometer, all the way back to 100% again. and then he believed he was the second coming again because he did one thing that worked. And it was infuriating, but that is the power of believing in yourself. And he made a professional career out of that. A crap one, but he ended up making a professional career out of it. And that is the power of believing in yourself. And I do think that is where the main thing, the number one thing I think to make someone a good leader is to get them, if maybe psychologists or cognitive therapists or someone that convinces someone that they are a good leader. And if you can convince someone that they are a good leader before they are, they will more than likely become a good leader. And if you convince them that they have, maybe not, for example, you might not be the most organized person now, but you have shown that you've got more potential than anyone else around you to become one of the most organized leaders there are. You even though you're the most disorganized person now, you've got this amazing combination that they found is super rare. And what happens is someone who is immensely disorganized at the bottom level and always late and always puts in low effort, those three things come together, combined with a belief in the system, and they hit a certain age and something happens, and then all of a sudden they turn it around and they become the best managers. But I don't know, you feed them that bullshit, and then this person will kind of go, oh wow, okay, and then you tell them that it was just strange that they got put into these positions, and then what happened was they just found this confidence to help people understand things, and to it was that lack of organization that let the team run themselves. So there was a lot of self-autonomy within the team, and the team worked so well because this person wasn't a micromanager, and because they were perceived as lazy, it wasn't. It was this skill growing within them. You feed them this shit, keep feeding them this shit, and they would eventually kind of go, wow, I didn't realise that I was management material, but wow, I actually am. And they might not be, you're just feeding them shit, but at the same time, you're giving them that belief that this is what's going to happen. And because they think that's going to happen, it probably will happen if you put them in that position. So it is about believing something wholeheartedly. Now, you can trick yourself to do this, but if someone else tricks you to do it, even better. If someone else manipulates you into believing that, even better. So that belief is solid. Now, that's where narcissists become super interesting, because what creates a narcissist? Why do narcissists believe in themselves so much? Why do they believe they're better than everyone else? Now, here's something I believe, because of the amount of narcissists I've met. I think the majority, I would say, here is, let's just say, there is a scale of the average IQ. No. Let's make a bell curve of IQ. And you got a lot of really unintelligent people down the bottom. I was trying to think of a nice way to say it then. Unintelligent people down the bottom. It bell curves up, and then it goes back down, and then you got a very small kind of pool of very intelligent people at this end. Now, what I believe is the narcissists fall in one slither of that bell curve. And what they are, and I'm not saying everyone within this slither is a narcissist, but what I am saying is all narcissists fall within this slither. And what they are is from that, between the top of the bell and the, let's just say, geniuses down the bottom, somewhere down there is a gap. So let's just say it's between 60 and 65% on the mean scale. So, or on the scale, on the bell curve scale. Let's just say it's between 60 to 65% on that scale. That small slither there those people are intelligent or more intelligent than the majority. So they are more intelligent than most people they meet. But they're not intelligent enough to see, to be able to recognize when someone else is more intelligent or as intelligent as them. I think when you start getting right down the bottom, intelligence recognizes intelligence. You can see other people, you can instantly meet someone and kind of go, my guy. But I believe those narcissists don't recognize when someone sees through them. They don't recognize when someone is more intelligent than them. They don't recognize when their bullshit doesn't work. So, and I'm not saying it's just on intelligence, but there is a type of narcissist, and I do think there is a scale on that. There probably are some narcissists who are very, very, very clever and do recognize other intelligence. But I think when you get right near the bottom end of, or the top end, that's when you realize how stupid you are, or how stupid humanity is in the grand scheme of things. Then you really become super humble and realize, actually, I am stupid. Humanity is stupid. Not me in terms of the average person, but literally humanity, including me, is thick as fuck. When people talk about religion and you just think, do you really think you have the brains to understand what is going on? Do you really think out of all of those religions that are out there, say 200, whatever, and you've just gone, I know the right one, I know which one it is. Do you really think you've got the brains to understand what's going on? If you believe God is almighty and God is this and God is that, what makes you think you are even close enough in intelligence to understand his plan? You are a grain of sand. And if you do believe you understand, that proves that A, you're thick as fuck, and B, it shows an arrogance that you believe you are intelligent enough to understand. Which is why I said when you get to a certain point, you realise you're stupid. The people at the bottom end realise they're stupid. Then you got this weird middle bit where they think they're really clever. And then you got the top end where these people realise they're really stupid. They realise they're more intelligent than the rest, but they also realise, actually, I know nothing. Humanity is, we're so close, literally a blink after chimps. People would say, oh, we got the internet and we got this and we got that. Yeah, technologically we've come far in the last 100 years, but biologically, I mean, really, our wants, our demand, the things that we desire, we're animals. Essentially, we're animals. When someone wants to be a leader, why do they want to be a leader? Popularity. Why do people follow a particular leader? It might be popularity, it might be money, it might be an ideology. What is it all about? It is all about, I want comfort, I want sex. That's it. I want women, I want men. So if you think you're going to be popular, and you think you're going to be rich, and you think you're going to have a great body, and you think all these things, you believe that the other gender, or whoever it is that you are attracted to, you believe that they are then going to be attracted to you because you're desirable, because you're powerful and in charge and good looking and rich, and everything comes down to us just wanting to be desired. And that is it. Wanting to find a high value partner. That is it. So we are stupid. And I think that, yes, you can believe you can lead other people, but it is also very narcissistic to believe that, in a way, everyone else needs your help. Because most people would say, well, I don't need anyone's help. I'm more than capable of looking after myself. I mean, are most people? That's up for debate. How many people pick the wrong partner? How many people pick the wrong career? How many people put themselves in debt? How many people can't manage themselves? How many people are depressed because they can't manage their own lives to, create a happy environment? Some people do need a lot of help. I believe people need a lot more help than they think they do. But again, this is where it comes down to, is it down to other people to kind of help you out if they think you need help, or should people just leave you alone? And is it down to those leaders who are in charge to help you, or is it down to them to look after number one and abuse everyone below them, but make them think that they are helping them? Obviously, that is wrong. I believe it's wrong, but I think most people would do the same. I think most people would look out for number one first, and the people that would help other people will never end up in charge because they don't believe they have the right or the authority, or they're not narcissistic enough and arrogant enough to believe that they should be in charge. So you're always going to end up with the same people in charge. So that is why I think the whole leadership model is pretty fucked. And when people compare all these different leaders of the past, I'm not saying every leader was bad, but I just think that the type of people that get put in charge are not generally the selfless people. They are the selfish people who believe that they deserve better than most people, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think a lot of that is quite depressing, really. But that's my take at the moment on the leadership definition. And if you work from that definition outwards and you say what is it that all leaders have in common, or the majority, very high percentage, is that they believe they should be there. That's the key. Fuck all the other traits. If you do not have man management skills but you believe you do, other people will believe it too. Eventually. You might not work, but again, you are at least going to get a chance. But someone who thinks they might be good, and they probably would be very good, but doesn't believe it enough to try, you're never going to know. So belief, I would say, is the number one key trait, skill of anyone who wants to A, get into a leadership position, but B, have any chance of being successful, being good, being great, whatever. That's just my opinion on where I stand at the moment on it. I'm getting a little bit frustrated with the whole what would I call it, the leadership community, people out there that think they understand leadership and they fucking don't. I'm not saying this is everyone, there's some incredible people out there, but it's the difference between leadership and great leadership. They're two very different things. And then what makes someone a leader and what makes someone a great manager. A leader should have a different name. There should be a different name. A leader, it should be followers and I suppose you've got to call it a leader. And then you would change the name of someone who is in charge of people, who is a great manager, and people. It's really convoluted. People will follow them if they're a great manager, and then they become leaders. But that's the point. That's why it's confusing. If you understand the definition, understand the objectives, then you can start to pick apart what makes a great, successful leader, a great leader. But there are too many people out there that are making things confusing by saying what makes a great leader is someone who is compassionate. Not necessarily. Depends on what your objectives are. What makes someone a great leader is... No, not necessarily. If you've got a million followers and you're a shit man manager and you're not organised and you're not compassionate and you're not empathetic, but everyone wants to follow you because they believe in your ideology, you're a powerful leader. So people need to get that into their head. Change the definition of what a leader is. It's not the romantic version that a lot of people will talk about. There are great leaders, but there are also shit leaders. So it's kind of my rant over, because like I said, I am getting a little bit frustrated with the amount of bullshit that gets spread, because it makes it even harder to get to the bottom of it, because there is so much shit out there. But anyway, apologies to if I ruin your Monday morning, Tuesday morning, whatever day it is, with my frustrated tones, but I really needed to get that out, have a little vent, because the further I get down the rabbit hole, the more and more I'm realizing that it's not that complicated. People are way overcomplicating it, and as soon as you trim away all the bullshit, it's really not that hard. So, yeah, let me know what you think. I hope you've enjoyed it, and yeah, like I've said a few times previously, I'm hoping I've got some really good interviews coming up. I'm really looking forward to it, and if anyone knows of anyone that I should interview, please let me know, because I do love speaking to people about their opinion. I'm picking their brains and just having great conversations, to be honest. So yeah, stay healthy, stay happy, and I'll speak to you soon.